everyone, I'm Regine.
And I'm Kayla.
Thank you for joining us on Real Talk.
New episodes are available every Monday and Friday at 6 p.m.
On our podcast, we offer our opinions and advice on various situations and questions from our listeners.
You can submit your questions or scenarios through Spotify, or if you're not using Spotify, email us at talktorealtalk@gmail.com.
You can choose to remain anonymous if you would like.
With that said, let's get started with today's episode. Question 1. I'm feeling overwhelmed with my workload and I'm having trouble managing my time effectively. I'm not sure how to prioritize tasks and I feel like I'm constantly behind.
Yeah, so definitely, I feel like we've all kind of been there, whether it's been school or work or both or family issues and everything. So it can definitely be a lot. But I would say one of the first things you should do is to make sure that you are scheduling your necessary things throughout the day. So such as breaks, sleeping, and self-care. Make sure that you have time set aside and scheduled so that you can still be taking care of yourself in the meantime. So you're not just so immersed in your work and that becomes the only thing that you're worried about. Because I know a lot of people, they'll be working so much all day and then it'll be 6 p.m. and then they realize that they haven't eaten anything all day. So you want to make sure that you have that time set to the side so that you're still taking care of yourself. And in turn, it's going to help prevent burnout if you're having your breaks and everything, because you're going to give yourself time to rest and recuperate and time to step aside from just being about work. So definitely have some sort of schedule, whether it's a physical one or one on your phone. Just make sure you have some sort of schedule so that you're not just taking the day all at once. You want to make sure you're going step by step and doing the necessary things while you're still focusing on your workload so that you don't fall behind. But with falling behind, you want to make sure that you're doing things that are going to be due soon first, and then go back to doing the things that you've fallen behind on, because you don't want to do what you're falling behind on, and then now you're ending up more behind because you didn't do what was due the next day or 2 days out from now. So you want to make sure that you're going to do what's ever current and about to be due first, then go back and then work your way up so that you don't fall even more behind. Another thing, don't be afraid to ask for help. So it depends on what the workload is and where you're located, or what's the scenario and situation and everything, or environment. Like let's say if you're in the office, don't be scared to ask the person whose desk is next to you for a little help. And also don't be afraid if they say no to you, because extra help is just that, extra help. It's nice to receive it, but if they don't give it to you, it's okay. But for example, let's say if you're in a Zoom meeting, you have 2 back-to-back meetings, and let's say for the next meeting you really need a file, and you can't stop the meeting you're in currently to go and get the file. You can always ask them to, hey, can you go look for this for me? Something simple like that. I know some things might be more complex, but that's just an example. Like if there's little things that are easy to do and don't require being too far into the work, always try to ask for help to lessen it from you. Even if it's just something simple like copying papers and everything, ask for help because it all adds up.
So I completely agree. One thing I do want to emphasize is prioritizing sleep. You don't realize it, but sleep literally maps out your whole entire day. It will give you the attitude that you're going to take on into the day. Because imagine you're tired, you're waking up, you're going to work, and you're like you're already starting off the day with bad energy because you're really tired. You're probably irritable if you're one of those people that are not a morning person, or I'm pretty sure a lot of people are just irritable when they don't have enough sleep. But you don't want to take that energy into work. You want to have a good day. So just go ahead, take your sleep. Make sure you get your full amount of hours or as much hours as you can. I know some jobs make it a little bit hard to keep your schedule packed up tight, but definitely sleep. And if you're one of those workaholics, leave work at work. The best way to see it as is, in order for me to do my job best and get my work done, I have to get sleep. In order to get sleep, I need to leave work at work, home at home. You don't want to go to work with all these thoughts in your head about what happened at home, what happened beforehand, what you have to do afterwards. It's not going to help you because you're not going to do it while you're at work. You have to work. Once you get home, you can't do what you got to do at work. And if you do, I wouldn't recommend it at all, because one, you're most likely not in your best state of mind because you're at home. Your body is probably used to wanting to rest at this specific place, and it's not fully functioning the way it would if it was at work. Next thing is, I just want to add on, write down a schedule, maybe like a whiteboard or a calendar. Like little calendar books. If you just write down the little time slots, what exactly you need to do. If you're one of those people, I wouldn't recommend the phone necessarily. I want to say to write down your schedule on like a whiteboard or a calendar book. Go ahead and fill out the little slot times in the calendar books so you know exactly what time to do certain things and get this done by a certain time, or just making sure you sleep at a certain time for this specific day. If you have like a different schedule, like at my job, I have different schedules. So I have to make sure I sleep by a certain time on certain days and then switch it up on another day. And I wouldn't recommend the phone necessarily for the calendar, just because although it's easily accessible, you might swipe away the notifications and then you kind of messed up because now you didn't forgot.
All right, on to question number 2. I'm dealing with a toxic family member who is always causing drama and stress. I'm not sure how to set boundaries and maintain a healthy relationship with the rest of my family.
So for this, it personally hits home for both of us, I can imagine, or majority of the population has had one or two toxic people in their lives or family members. And one thing about family, they do have this really big entitlement to treating people a certain way just because they're family. They throw all social cues and everything out the window and kind of just, although they might feel like 100% themselves, it's not necessarily something that's going to help you. And the main thing is going to be based on you. It's just going to be you. Although it may seem selfish, in this case, it's going to benefit you. So I would, one, stick to your boundaries. Don't let it slide. Don't go back on your boundaries. Just stick to it. Go ahead, and although it might feel uncomfortable, speak on it. You don't have to be rude about it. You don't have to be disrespectful. You can allow them to know with your words. I would speak calmly. I would speak clearly. And I would evaluate what I want to say ahead of time so that they know exactly what I'm speaking about, and not that I'm just pulling this up just out of nowhere. Don't take what they do personally to you, because people are a result of their environment, what they've been through, their experiences. A lot goes into an individual. It's not for you to decipher. What you're going to do is worry about yourself and what you want done around you. And they will either change it or not. If they don't change it, I do highly recommend separating yourself from that person, because they do not respect your boundaries. The boundaries is not to be crossed. And although people do make mistakes, there's a difference between making a mistake and making a conscious decision not to do it. And family are not entitled to take your rights away as a human being. You have the right to speak up for yourself. You have the right to say, I do not like this. And what I would recommend you doing is treating yourself as if you were your own child. If you treat yourself as your own child, you see yourself as, oh, if your child was to come to you and tell you, I don't like this and this person is doing this, but I don't want this to happen anymore, you're going to take it seriously and you're going to nip it in the bud. When we think of ourselves, we sometimes let things go because we might overthink that, oh, maybe I'm overthinking it, or you fall into, no, you don't want to fall into it's kind of like manipulating yourself. You don't want to do that, because if your child came to you and told you this, you wouldn't want to manipulate them. You would want to nip it in the bud and let them know that they are safe and they should be able to express themselves, whether it makes other people uncomfortable or not. Everyone is responsible for their own actions. They're responsible for what they do. You're responsible for what you do.
So yeah, like Kayla was saying, set your boundaries and stick to them. You have to stick to them 100% of the time, so they know that anytime that they try to cross this boundary, what your reaction is going to be. If they know that you're loose on it, they're going to try to test you and see, like, when are you going to let them? Or they might see it as, well, she's not really serious, or they are not really serious about this. So I know that I can maybe try to slide in and see if this time is the time she's going to say no, or if this time is the time that the answer is going to be yes. So, like, for example, let's say you have a family member that's always asking you for money, and you know, when you lend them money, they don't give it back, or they don't give it back on time, or they stop talking to you until they're able to give it back. There's no communication about it. And you know, let's say if that's your last $100, and you know rent's coming up soon, and you need that $100 back before the first of the month, and they don't give it back. So, you know, if it's someone that's like that, you need to tell them. You with boundaries, you always have to straight up tell the person and let them know. You can't just, well, you can just try to switch it up, but it's always best to let them know, hey, I'm not going to be doing this anymore, so that they are aware. Because if you just try to, you know, if you just said yes the last time, but you're saying no and everything, that's okay. But I would say that it's best to tell them, like, hey, I'm not going to be lending you money anymore. I have to worry about my bills. It's very important for me to have everything paid on time, and it stresses me out when I don't have all my money lined up. And you could tell them just like that, or find a nicer way, or, you know, you could say it however, but let them know that you won't be doing such thing anymore. And 100% of the time, it has to be the same thing. So with the money situation, each and every time that they ask you for money, the answer has to be no. Because if you tell them yes one time, they're going to keep asking, like, oh, well, maybe this is the time I'll be getting the money. So you have to stick to it 100%. And then as far as maintaining a healthy relationship with the rest of the family, I would say, depending on what the boundary is, it'll be okay to let your family know about what you're going to be doing or not doing concerning that person. So if it's the money situation that I gave, and you're not going to be giving that person money anymore, you can let your family know, I'm not going to be lending them money anymore. Because, you know, in a lot of situations, the person, if you, let's say they called you on the phone, they asked for money, you told them no, they might call the next person and be like, hey, you know, I asked blah 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 for X amount of money and they said no. Then that family member might call you and try to convince you to give them the money, or tell you all kinds of things. So you should let, if it's something, a simple situation like that, you should let the rest of the family know, like, hey, I'm not going to be doing this anymore, so that they already know. And then hopefully they'll be on your side. And if that person calls them to try to complain about you, they'll be able to tell them, well, she said she's not going to be giving you money anymore. So that's just the end of the story on that. So yeah, depending on what it is, I would say definitely let the rest of the family know. If it's something hyper specific or very personal, then you can keep it behind the scenes or just tell a select amount of people. But I definitely think you'll benefit from telling other people.
Question 3. It seems like there's a lot of people out here that are lonely, and it appears to have gotten worse. What thoughts do you have on how to get back into socializing and not falling into a depression?
Yes. So definitely, I would say if you're feeling lonely or a bit down, sad, depressed, definitely let yourself feel how you are feeling, but without letting yourself just wallow completely in it. So if you're feeling sad for the day, it's good to just feel sad for that day and feel your feelings instead of forcing yourself to go out and be fun or be positive. Sometimes you're going to feel like that, and it's healthy and normal to let yourself just feel a bit sad, but definitely don't let yourself wallow in it. That's when it gets a bit dangerous and you start pushing people away or you stop taking care of yourself the way that you should. But you want to just maintain a healthy medium. You want to feel how you're feeling, but not too much, or allowing yourself to just be down all the time. And you don't want to push yourself to go out and do all these things and be positive all the time either. So you want to maintain a medium. Um, and then as far as getting back into socializing, I would say to try to reconnect with old friends because, I think reconnecting with old friends is always a bit easier than finding new friends, especially if you're older or especially if you've moved and everything like that. Um, because you can, when you meet up with someone from your past, you can speak about memories back then and you already kind of know their personality and character. Granted that it can change, but in a general sense, you already kind of know that person and there already be a level of comfortability with them. So definitely reconnect with old friends, send a message and start talking to them again. And some activities that I would recommend if, maybe you're feeling a bit awkward talking and everything because let's say you haven't been talking to people, real life people for a while. So you start feeling awkward or, just a little out of your groove. So something that I would recommend is going to the movies because, you'll be focused on watching the movie. You shouldn't be talking throughout the movie the whole time, and then that gives you something after the movie to talk about instead of just awkwardly kind of, being around each other or you're not back how things were before. So that's one thing. And then also for my people that get their nails done, going to the nail shop is really good too. Because, you can talk and everything, maybe talk about what nail design you're doing, catching up a little bit. And then if you run out of things to say, you can just turn your focus back onto your nails. And then when you or the other person has something else to say, you can start talking. But it's not like if you're out at dinner or something, or just sitting in the park or something, when it's quiet, you're just quiet and staring at each other. You can be focused on doing whatever the activity is, like your nails, for example, or the movie, like I was saying. But I think that those two activities are really good to avoid feeling kind of weird or, talking too much and you running out of things to say.
So, allowing yourself to cry, my mom has always said to allow yourself to cry for a day or two. Then on the third day, pick yourself up. By the third day, more than likely, you might have ran out of tears, but you still feel sad. So by then, you might feel a little bit more motivated, even if you were to just get up, maybe wash your face. I know depression, you feel so down that you don't want to get out of bed, you don't want to do anything hygiene-wise, or really even probably open the window at that point. So on the third day, I would recommend maybe doing something simple as like washing your face, doing a little skin routine, maybe look at a few videos, see what you could do in order to slowly pick yourself back up into your own pace. As far as being alone, I feel like it's okay to be alone, or to feel alone at least, and to remember to learn yourself as a person. Because when you learn yourself as a person and you get settled into being okay with being alone, because you're not going to always have someone there. It's a guaranteed thing in life. You're not going to have someone there all the time. You have to learn to be alone. You can't go running to, try to force people into your lives, because it never is sustainable. And then when you learn yourself so good, you automatically will attract the kind of people you want in your life. So then you're not coming across people that you didn't necessarily like, or just was completely different from you and what you believe in and what you like to talk about. As far as socializing, it's just like a skill. You have to take risks and adapt to different environments. And it takes practice. Take your time. Go at your own pace. Start by saying hello to those walking past, or simply add on to something you find interesting. Maybe you might overhear someone's conversation, although that might seem a bit extremely risky to some people, where you don't want to just jump out and say something to someone. It's okay to ask them, like, hey, I overheard your conversation. I know it seems a bit nosy, but I would like to add this in. And, they might feel joy that someone just shared something new to them or started talking back to them. You never know. I wouldn't overthink it, because at the end of the day, if you're walking past someone and you say hello and they don't say hello back to you, you never know. Maybe they were in their own world. Maybe they didn't mean to be rude, or they're really anxious inside. Just like you, when you're trying to talk to someone and you're not too sure how they'll react to you, then you get a little bit nervous. And it's normal. We're all humans at the end of the day, and I wouldn't take it to heart.
Thank you again for listening to Real Talk.
We hope you found our advice and opinions helpful.
Please keep in mind that we are not professionals, and our advice is based solely on our personal experiences and perspectives.
So take our advice with a grain of salt, and always consult with a professional when necessary.
New episodes are available every Monday and Friday at 6 p.m.
If you have any questions or scenarios you'd like to discuss with us, you can submit it through Spotify or email us at talktorealtalk@gmail.com.
You can specify if you would like us to post your situation to our Instagram at TalkToRealTalk to get opinions from other listeners in the comment.
And follow us there to stay up to date on our latest episodes, and share with your friends so they can join the conversation too.
You can leave a comment on Spotify or YouTube with a pink and orange heart emoji for a chance to be featured on our Instagram as comment of the day.
Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Real Talk.
Goodbye.